Okay. Hi. Hello, everybody. And my name's Aaron, and welcome to Go to 10. If you haven't been in here before, you're very welcome here. Go to 10 is by Internet Stiftelsen. We are a non-profit organization. We support digitalization events, and we are a free co-working space and event space. So if you'd like to become a member, you can sign up over here. It's free to use. We're open from 8 till 4:30 every day, and this place is yours. If you want to do an event, that's also possible. So if you want to find out more about Go210, you can speak to me. But yes, I'll pass you over. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Annette Bystedt, and I work at Linköping Science Park with AI Sweden. And we have this student meetup because I was contacted by Lars from Radboud University. And I guess some of you are from there. And then we invited also Linköping University students and people online to join and come and listen to both what we do within AI Sweden and Linköping University, or Linköping Science Park. But also I've invited our student association that works with AI, FIA Robotics. And we have 3 companies presenting today, iMatrics, and Sectra. So you'll get a glimpse of what we do within the university and what companies in Linköping do with AI. Okay, and this is the agenda. You've gotten Swedish fika. You've eaten something called kanelbulle, very Swedish, and had coffee to that. We'll talk a bit about Linköping Science Park and AI Sweden. But the focus will actually be on the other parts, with FIA Robotics, iMatrics, Sectra, and then we'll have time to actually do questions and have a mingle, so that you can actually connect with the companies here and talk to them more about what they do. You will see that they are 3 very different companies, both in size and what they do within AI. But they will actually focus on what they do within AI so that you get a glimpse into that. Okay. First, Linköping Science Park. I don't know if all of you know what a science park does or what it's for. But this science park is one of the oldest ones in Sweden. Next year we turn 40 years old. So there is one the science park that is older in the south of Sweden, but otherwise this is the oldest one in Sweden. And we connect over 600 tech companies in Linköping area and act as a mediator between both academia, companies and business and talent attraction. And work primarily with innovation and acceleration of companies. About 300 of these 600 companies are small companies, less than 10 people employed, but we do have in the park global techs as well, and you'll listen to one of them today. As you can see, we say that we have 14,000 brilliant minds that is both employees and students. Or that's employees, and then we have about 35,000 students at Linköping University that we can connect to as well. At the bottom, you'll see some of Linköping's finest innovations, examples of things that have sprung out of this area. We do a lot of visualization and image analysis. That's one of the university's strong areas, and we have a lot of companies that come out of that have their foundation within visualization. Mobile communications and 5G is something that actually came from Linköping from the beginning. And we have several companies that that work with automotive safety. And then streaming media is an innovation from Linköping University. So when you listen to Spotify, you actually listen to innovation that came out of Linköping University. And then the last one on this side is actually the lead incubator, where we take smaller ideas with brilliant potential and then help them to accelerate. So that's also something that we do. And what is the science park? It's an independent arena. We are not for profit, and we are not. We do not have a special agenda, but we actually work and try to develop the innovation process and help companies to grow and accelerate. So it's a support system for companies within tech here in Linköping. And as I said, we include academia, business, but also society and citizens. So we can connect to the Linköping municipality and the people that live here as well. And this is just a few of the founding pillars that we work with. Of course, research and innovation, where we connect to the university, and RISE, which is a research institute, which works more with applied research. Start and growth support, where we help companies to grow. We give them counseling, we help them to connect to the right people, and talent attraction and things like that. And then we have open innovation and deep tech, where we have different clusters within different technologies, where we can help both with getting the right support in terms of hardware, or in terms of getting projects, or finding funding. And that's where AI Sweden is one part. And I'll talk a bit more about that. And I had that part of the science park here in Linköping. So AI Sweden, what is it? Have you heard of AI Sweden before, any of you? Yeah, good. So the mission is this. We are an organization, national organization actually, where we have nodes around Sweden. This is one of 6 nodes in Sweden. And our mission is to accelerate the use of AI. So it's applied AI. We do not primarily work with research. We actually try to facilitate so that companies remove hinders, or get access to the right facilities that they need to accelerate the use of AI. It could be competence, it can be knowledge, it can be talking to politicians, it could be different things. And as you can see, we work for everybody, to get businesses and for everyone living in Sweden to be competitive. So it's quite a high mission that we work for. So what is it? It's a national center for applied AI. We are neutral, non-profit, and broadly funded. We have funding from almost all regions in Sweden, and from a national agency called Vinnova, which is the innovation agency in Sweden, and also companies that help fund us. And we are for the private sector, primarily the private sector, but also for the public sector and academia. Even though, as I said, research is not our primary goal. These are our partners that we work with, and you should look at it as that we have smaller companies in the private sector is on this side, more or less, and then as you work, you go up to the global techs that we work with. And then we have academia and public sector. And working with partners in this way is actually really good, in the sense that we can start projects and get corporations going between actors that would not normally work together. But they focus on the technology instead of actually working within a sector. And how do we do that? We do a lot of things. I urge you to actually connect on ai.se to see what we do and the different projects that we do, and how we can work with talents and to work with different types of matchmaking, job matchmaking, student thesis work, different things. So this is very simplified, but different partner networks. And the partner networks could be within sectors, where we, for example, work with how regions could work with AI. Or it could be in different areas where there are obstacles. So we have legal networks, because there are a lot of legal issues with working with in AI. And then we have ethical networks where we work with ethical questions. So the networks go on both verticals. Then we have talent programs. I think we have about 10 different talent programs running right now. And they go from gymnasie level, which is high school level, and then up to postdoc level. So there are different types of talent programs that we work with to get talent both attracted to Sweden, to move here, to stay in Sweden, and to get the universities to get the students that read or study AI in Sweden to get jobs within AI. So we want them, because that's our mission. We have shareable knowledge and resources, and that is actually one of our biggest parts in AI Sweden, where we have hardware. We have a big data lab where you can try out your ideas and test. We have a lot of best practices, white papers on how to form an AI strategy for a company and and things like that. We have a lot of data sets in the data factory as well that you can use. And a maturity assessment tool, you hear. It's different tools to actually get you to accelerate. And then the fourth and final part is leadership, where we actually work on a policy-making level to get Sweden to invest more in AI, to get politicians to understand, to get leaders to understand, and to move the general knowledge about AI in Sweden so that more understand that this is something that you probably need to understand a bit about to be competitive as a company. If you stay where you are, then you might be overtaken by either another company within Sweden or from a company abroad. This has, of course, helped a lot with the development in the last quarter, where I think most of the people in Sweden have understood what the difference ChatGPT will do and tools like that. And we see a lot of different tools coming out. But with that comes, of course, hazards. Because if you share a lot of knowledge there, you lose the power of your data. So there's also to understand what to do and what not to do with AI. Okay. That was everything from me. I'll be here later on as well to talk more if you have questions. But now I'll hand over to Elliot, who will actually talk about FIA Robotics, our student association.
Yeah, all good. Well, wonderful. Hearing a lot of myself, so hopefully that means all of you are hearing a lot of me as well. Well, hi everyone. I'm Elliot and I'm chairman of the organization FIA. We're the student organization for AI and robotics here at Linköping University. And today I'll tell you a bit about what we do, how we can help you out, and all exciting things like that. But before we get into FIA in particular, I want to talk about associations a little bit in general. Whatever it is you study, and there's a few different programs here represented, I believe. I mean, I'm sure we all see that there's a hole in our program. There's something we'd like to be doing, we'd like to be learning that just isn't there as a natural part of it. And that's where the associations come in. There's a lot of us here at Linköping University for a lot of different things. So regardless of what it is you see as a whole in your university program, we help fill it up. Maybe you feel like you're not running enough, so you have little Syda who run unreasonably far, unreasonably often. Maybe you feel like there's not enough improvisational theater when you're studying for your calculus exam. You have Holger Spexet, you can tag along with them. They have a lot of fun. Or perhaps you feel that while studying to a psychologist, really you'd like to do some more surgery. So you have Kira Liu who does surgery. It's fun people. And of course, since you're here, it seems like you have a bit of an interest, at least in AI. And that's where we at FIA come in. For everyone who feels like they'd want some more AI or some more robotics in their life. So how do we actually help at FIA? How do we help you reach your things in AI and robotics? Well, there's 4 different things I'm thinking of. The first is connections. I'm stood here right now speaking because we have connections to AI Sweden, Annette, and the wonderful people there. And in the same way, we have a lot of connections to other companies around Linköping area. We have connections to the university and everything like that, and we'd gladly help you out, connect you to whoever it is that will be helpful for you. Furthermore, we have components of all different fun types. We have a lab in the university, the B building, the cool room with robots and a football field. That's us. In there, we have a lot of fun stuff like raspberries, Arduino, sensors, and we'd gladly lend it to help you reach a robotics project. But of course, AI doesn't always use physical things, so for that we also have compute available. We have a computer that's a fair bit fatter than what most students are able to have themselves, and we'll gladly see more people use it to train their networks or run their exciting different projects. However, the most important thing that I think we offer is the collaboration. Within the organization, there's a lot of people working on a lot of different things, who all have a lot of different experiences. But what they all have in common is that they're all very helpful, they're all very happy, and they'd all very gladly hang out, talk about these topics, and help each other grow. But to give you a bit of a more sense of what it is we actually do within FIA, I'd like to start in the past and just look at a few highlights of stuff we have done. For example, this is a picture of the first fully autonomous self-driving car in Sweden, driving on roads. We built that a few years ago. It didn't go too far before the police stopped it. But it did go, and it did go entirely autonomously. Here we have a Now robot who was practicing for her cooking competition. We taught her to make tomato soup and sent her off to the World Championship, where she, after some light threats to the judges with a knife, actually did take the win home to us here in Sweden. And other fun things as well. Here's me at national television for a charity fundraiser competing with some robots. So those are just a few fun things we've done in the past. But of course, the past isn't always representative of what's going on and where we are moving forward. So I think we're talking about what FIA are doing right now. Most of the work we do is in project form. Someone has a cool idea, something they'd like to pursue, and we as the organization help them pursue that. They find some friends, we talk about it in the organization, and everyone teams up and forms a group. The oldest such project that we are running still is the at-home project. Here you have a team of students programming the Pepper robot you see in the middle for the World Championship in robotics. They try to make her as helpful and nice and pleasant as possible, because she's competing as an assistant in the home. She can recognize people, guess their ages, introduce them to one another, or navigate around space. Of course, for that we use a few different AI technologies like face recognition, speech via GPT, and fun things like that. So this summer they'll be going down to Bordeaux to compete. But not only do we compete in the World Championship, we also host the Swedish Championship in robotics. This is a picture from a few weeks back when we held the Youth Championship. So for kids and youths, I suppose, from 19 and younger in Sweden, they're all able to come here and compete with the robots. And then we help those who win go to VM, the World Championship, and the European Championship. So those are some of the exciting things we do in the competition sphere. We also, however, build a lot of exciting robots. This is one of our firefighting robots, not the best picture, unfortunately, but it's an autonomous robot that we built, which is able to navigate through a labyrinth, find a candle and extinguish it, to represent solving a fire extinguishing project inside a house or an apartment or something in that manner. Of course, it's also wearing a nice hat. So, I mean, there's a lot of good things going on with this robot. And the last and fourth project we have ongoing at the moment is our No Brakes project, which I'll be getting back to in just a minute, but it's an autonomous driving and navigation project. However, everything we do isn't project-based. There are a lot of other things we do as well. This image, for example, maybe some of you recognize it, is from a workshop we did with AI Sweden a few months back. And we try to have these fun events, lunch lectures, workshops, competitions, that are just like one-off things you can show off, you can have fun, and you can hopefully get more involved and feel that it's a good starting point. But something worth keeping in mind with all these projects is that you don't need to know too much before you start. The best way of learning something is by doing. And one illustration of that is our No Breaks team. They started with an idea. They didn't feel like they were learning enough about reinforcement learning, about neural networks, and about AI in general in their regular course project. And they wanted to do so. So they looked around and they found a cool competition that's going to be held, a championship down in Germany, where you have cars navigating, like you see on the right there, in a simulated city, and also racing along a racetrack. So they figured that sounds like a cool thing to do, and we want to try it. We want to learn. They didn't know too much to start, but during the project, they've been learning a lot. So they contacted us at FIA. We helped them set up. We bought some nice new graphics cards so we could run a fancy new NVIDIA simulator called Isaac Sim, which I think we're among the first, at least in the world, to be using for something like this. And then we set that up with a PyTorch reinforcement learning system so that they now have the car running in the computer in our lab. It's running in simulated labs and trying to learn. And what it is teaching is that they have a setup of 3 different reinforcement trained neural networks. We have one part that is learning identification of road signs. We have one part that's learning identifying of the actual road features, like where are the edges. Then we have a third part that's actually trying to steer the car based on that. So their goal is to have everything entirely autonomously and neural network driven. We'll see how it goes for them. Hopefully they'll be competing at the World Championship down in Germany this summer. So that's just an example of how a project could be run through FIA. But of course, that's what we have done, what we are doing, but what could we be doing? And I'll give a few suggestions, ideas, thoughts, just in the AI space in general. The first is moving on to performing Kaggle competitions, for example. Kaggle, for those who don't know, is a website and a community where people compete in data science challenges, doing identification, regression, and other interesting things like that, and sometimes with, frankly, ridiculous prize pools. But seems like a fun thing to start doing. Another thing that we could be moving into is algorithmic trading. Of course, having AI and robots make you money. I mean, who doesn't like that? It's a win. But the thing I'm most excited about and that I think we could be doing is your idea, whatever that is. Unfortunately, I don't know what that is, but I would be very excited to learn and help you make sure it becomes a reality. So that's a bit about what FIA does. And of course, a common question is, well, where do we start? How do I get involved if I'm interested? This QR code will take you to our Facebook page, where you can see the things we are doing, all our smaller events and workshops. And you can also contact us there if it's something you were wondering about and you had ideas for your own projects. Currently, you'll find a lunch lecture coming up next week with the 6 Sensor Technologies, who make fantastic sensors and apply a lot of AI on cameras. And we'll also find a hacking event, which we're doing with the Dino Robotics, where we try to hack some stuff they set up. It'll be fun, I'm sure. So if that sounds interesting to you, please check it out. Thank you very much, and if anything else you wonder, you'll find me here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Now we'll listen to Marie from iMatrics, and we'll hook up your computer. There you go.
All right, can you hear me? Yeah. Great. So Let's start. So hi everyone, my name is Marie. I am a co-founder and the CEO of the company iMatrics. I am making a little bit of a presentation mistake. I'm putting the demo at the end because I will have some time for your questions about the AI that we're doing. So iMatrics, a little bit first about our background and what we are doing. We don't actually say that we're an AI company that often. We mostly say advanced text and data analytics. Our core is in NLP, so natural language processing, and in text specifically. We are a spin-off from the university here. We were founded in 2015 on sort of the basis of this research. As a startup, you have to offer something that's unique. And the language technology that we have is giving us that edge, actually. So what do we do? AI and technology can be applied in so many different areas. We have carved out a very, very narrow niche for ourselves, and that's in making the media industry data-driven, or even more narrow, the publishing industry, so news publishers. What you can understand from that is if you imagine these big corporations like Netflix or Google, I mean, the user experience that these guys are giving you today is really top quality. But if you imagine a news site, you're not going to go to a news site for UX tips or a good user experience. So what's happening is that the news and the media industry is really sort of falling behind large tech organizations. And with AI and with analytics, we are sort of helping the news industry sort of catch up on that, because they are not going to be able to exist to support our democracies for the future if they are not going to be able to, in a few years, attract you guys as customers. That's their end goal. They have to offer something that you guys are willing to pay for. And if they cannot do that, we're going to have a little bit of more issues. So our part in this is not big. We actually do something called metadata. So in terms of if you have news articles, you describe them with data called metadata that you then use for other things. So there's I will explain a bit more what that is, but that's essentially our key. We provide customized metadata for the media industry. And I think you guys are technically interested, I'm assuming, but understanding where you apply this and how that affects the users and their sort of everyday life is actually, in my experience, a much, much bigger thing than I ever realized before. So this is from our sales presentations when we go on and do our sales. Our core service is an NLP service, a text analytics service that we call an automatic tagging of articles. This is really the foundation of what we do, and the foundation of our text analysis here is language independent. This is really a strength point that we have from our knowledge, the way we do things, which has really allowed us to go from Sweden to actually, if I get a customer to sign a deal today, it's going to be 9 countries and not 8 countries, but I'm still waiting for that signature. So I'm sort of in that, checking my emails, have they signed it, but not yet. We are 10 people today, but we have an extended team of about another 5 people. So we're quite a small organization. Sectra that you're going to hear about later are much bigger than we are. But I want to say that our sort of growth, we started, as I said, in 2015, but we had our first services in Sweden launched at the end of 2017. So it took a long time for us to sort of commercialize our technology. It was really a really difficult case because we are very skilled at text analytics, but where to apply it? To surveys, combat hate speech, doing what we do today, and it's not even our idea. We met someone who just said, well, if you're that great, why don't you just fix our metadata problem? And we just said, what's that? So we really came from a different world in terms of that. So before the pandemic, we had 2 countries, Sweden and the Netherlands, and since then we are fast approaching 9 and then 10, I'm hoping this year. So we are growing quite heavily. So metadata. Metadata, if you've never heard the term before, is data about data. So data that in essence is used to describe something else. And for the news and media industry, and actually even for, I would say, for Netflix, this data is what drives their digital business. The benefit of metadata is that it's super versatile. You can do a lot with it, and the drawback is that it's very, very difficult to manage all of these use cases. So for instance, these are a few things that our customers are using it for. They're using it for personalization of news sites, sort of like Netflix is doing that as well. If you're looking at, you know, what kind of content are they recommending to you guys, even what images are on the content. Have you seen that they switch images? If you don't look, yeah, someone's nodding. Netflix will give you different images to prompt you to watch a series or a movie. If you haven't noticed that, avoid watching something for a few times, then you will see the picture change. And if I compare the visuals of my Netflix account with my husband's, they're completely different in color themes. So it's one of those fun things. Also distribution channels, something as simple as how you navigate a site, app, how you get your newsletters out, like all of these things. If they aren't already, they should be driven by data. Imagine someone doing that by hand for every single article. It's just a waste of time. Yeah, questions before I show the demo? No, not yet. All right, let's have a look at the demo. So this is our web portal. I'm going to zoom in. This is just for demo purposes. No one's actually really using this. I just want to show you what we're doing. So now you have to sort of imagine that you're a journalist and you're going to start writing your article here. And what we do is that we will analyze what you're writing and we will put some information on here that's sort of describing what you're writing about. I could actually just zoom in a little bit for you as well. This is a made-up article, I should say, if someone is very interested to football. We have a short article here that you wrote. I can see the colors is not coming through that much, but we have 3 major sections. One is categories, if you're familiar with like a tree structure, something that you can get from like a clustering analysis or that type of structure. These are really valuable as menu systems or any kind of archive division. Soccer, this article is about soccer. But you can also here see, you know, we have sort of done a short visualization that soccer is a part of a competition discipline, is a part of sports. Topics, these are more free, so you could have other details here. If you want more in-depth and not hierarchy and not connected, just open data points, you would add many more here. The final part of what we do is entities. So if you're familiar with natural language processing, entity recognition, entity linking, entity disambiguation, all of these things, of course, come in to what we're doing. And we've purposely done this article to sort of showcase a few of these things. I'm going to add one more. But we can identify the difference between Manchester United and Manchester City. And if I would input Manchester here, just as its own thing, you're going to see that the place Manchester shows up. This is really tricky. If you would look at our databases that are sort of behind this, we have 100 different places in the world named Berlin. Of course, from our perspective, Berlin in Germany is fairly, you know, a straightforward guess. But it's actually not that trivial for most cases. Even something like this can be quite confusing even for a human if you're not into football. As I said, sorry, entity linking. Of course, you have to recognize it first, but then you have to link it to what actually do we mean by this. So we have things like Wikidata links so that we can attach more information. You're seeing here that for all of these we have a description. We use descriptions that we've made ourselves, customers have made, or that we can sync from open sources to make these identifications. That they help us do the disambiguation part of this, understanding which one we talk about. So that's a key thing. It's also a key thing that we, because of the linking, can give unique IDs to things. So there are a lot of football players who share names with politicians. So if you want to follow that, if you want to understand your content or do anything with that, you can't mix up football articles with political articles because all the football fans are going to go crazy with that. And we do things like we have geodata as this. But sort of coming back to our AI, we have different tools. I mentioned clustering beforehand, but we custom make our own tools. We, of course, use a variety of techniques, named entity recognition, disambiguation, linking, all of these kinds of things. Some that we make, some that are open, and a lot of extra data to support the AI. I have a few minutes left, I think. Yeah? About 4.
Yeah, I would actually have a question, because I can imagine, you mentioned that you work with different publishers.
Yes.
How do you then deal with data from different sources? Do you have different databases and separate models per publisher? Do you aggregate it per language? How do you do that?
I didn't have that one. It's a very good question. I thought I was going to be able to show you. We have, here we go. So we have a customer, let's start from the bottom. We have a global layer that's basically mostly English Wikipedia for access. Then we have a language or sometimes not a language, but a country-specific part that you can access. And then at the top you have a customer-specific part, and we would prioritize them customer, language, global, to make sure that. Something that we have in this is that we have an automatic Wikidata sync that updates and changes with all the information on Wikidata. Because managing all this data is super tricky. And now you get to see some of the other things that we have in the background. Raw connections of keywords and such, different weights. Sorry, yeah, you were, I forgot that part.
Hello?
Yeah.
As you can see, you can manually enter entities or topics, but does the model actually learn from those? That it improves itself if you manually enter those?
If you just add, like if you, here you can add a topic, it's more like a search function, so you could search for school, I guess. You could find different. But in our concept management part, you can add new things. I think that's what you're maybe referring to. If you add a new entity, it will instantly update and can recognize the entity. If you add a topic, it depends on if you're good at adding topics and understand what you're doing. If you add a sort of random topic, that's not going to work because the AI is based on news articles. So we customize the AI for each and every customer. So if you've never written about something, it's not going to recognize it. But if you've written about it, if it's actually something that has strong connections to your content, it's going to work really well.
Yes, another question, because you kind of mentioned that it's kind of tricky to add new topics. More of a general question, because recently, especially with the advent of the new language models, we've kind of seen this hype about prompt writers becoming like a new job niche. Do you think that's something that's becoming relevant for companies like you that work a lot with natural language processing, where, for example, these topic descriptions would be quite vital to having an easier training of the models?
I think for us, we're going to have prompt engineers. We've already had our head of marketing. He's our primary prompt engineer, but we are going to see us using that more on the sales and business side rather than the tech side. If we would move over to the transformer models, we would train our own. But currently, the potential of quality improvement is far less than the cost of doing that, because the transformer models are very heavy to maintain and train, and it would slow our service down by several seconds. And honestly, none of our customers would notice any difference from that today, but we are monitoring them, of course.
You mentioned that your models were language independent. How will you manage to reach that?
So the core is language independent, and if you think about AI today, you might use pre-made models or pre-made structures that you train, but if you can actually take it all the way to the mathematics, if you can translate language to math, everything is essentially mathematical. So we will use other things than these maybe learning models that train over time. To sort of do that. I will say that not everything is language independent, because the entity recognition is not, because if you would write in acrylic, for instance, or Russian, that doesn't work. But the basic text understanding, the basic topics are, simply because you can make connections in the language. Sort of an answer. I can show you a bit more if you want, but no.
Thank you, Marie. Next, we'll hear from Daniel from Sectra, who will talk about what they do within AI.
Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Forsberg. I work as a AI lead and product owner at Sectra. I'll be sharing with you a little bit about what we do in terms of trying to help our customers getting access to AI and start using AI in clinical practice. I'll kind of split this presentation in two parts. One part is just to give you kind of an introduction in terms of who Sectra, who we are, what we do on a general level, and also to kind of get your feeling for what do I mean when I talk about AI within healthcare. That part is probably going to go quite quick, so if you have additional questions about that later, please feel free to ask. And then I'm going to spend some more time talking about, well, what is it that we actually do and how do we try to do this and why is it important what we're trying to do. So, but to start off, Sectra as a company is a spin-off from the university, started about 45 years ago when a group of researchers were giving a contract to, well, you need to help this bank setting up some secure transmissions, hence the name Sectra. So started 45 years ago. A few years later, they got a contract to create a crypto that was meant to be used by defense or by the armed services here in Sweden. And a year later, we also started to work within medical IT. And the rest is kind of what they say, well, history. And off it went. And we still remain kind of true to that history in the sense what we focus on is that how can we help society to become healthier and safer. And that means that today we are split in basically three divisions. We have one part, the imaging IT solutions that I represent, where we focus on creating IT systems that can help out within healthcare, making healthcare more efficient while maintaining or increasing quality. The second part is what is referred to as secure communication, where we look at working at providing hardware or software cryptos to, as I said, to governments or to the armed forces, but also they're looking into how we can provide surveillance for critical infrastructure. And the middle part is what we refer to business innovation. Here we kind of have the smaller, kind of the startup within the company, So smaller products that are just up and coming. For instance, last year we launched a new initiative within genomics. So that's where they will reside until they can kind of stand on their own feet. So, but what I will focus on is talking about a part that we refer to as amplifier services, or a product area. And as I said, this is really focused on how can we bring AI into the hands of the clinicians, the radiologists, the pathologists, so that they can use AI as something that can support them within their clinical workflow when they are doing their daily work. And first off, when it comes to healthcare, healthcare is under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and this is globally. Wherever you go, wherever you will talk to someone who is within healthcare, they will say, we need more people, we need more money, there is so much to do. So healthcare is desperately looking for different ways of how can we create a change, how can we do something differently, and where a lot of people see a lot of potential when it comes to AI to help healthcare in different ways. It can be about making sure that the right resources are spent or working with the right cases, for instance, making the workflow more efficient, or just providing an extra set of eyes to help the radiologist when they are reviewing, instead of feeling that pressure, oh, there are so many things for me to look at, but I have someone who will have my back and will support me. So a lot of potential when it comes to AI in terms of helping out within healthcare. And one way to describe this is to kind of look at different workflows or different places where the AI could help out. And that's what I just want to give you a couple of examples to kind of get a feeling for what is it when I talk about AI within healthcare. So the first thing would be, for instance, how can AI support a radiologist to know what is the most relevant case for me to be reading? So imagine you're coming back after the weekend, the hospital has been working as usual. That means that there is a long backlog of cases for you to review. The typical way to review this backlog would be kind of reading it in the chronological order. So you start with whatever that was done on Friday evening before you move on to the next one. But if you can have an AI to support you, for instance, you can have the AI look at these cases and flag certain cases and say, well, these are potential abnormal. You can start with those cases before moving on to the ones that are potentially healthy and thus doesn't have the same level of urgency. Something else is, of course, supporting the radiologist to show that, hey, we have detected something. We have detected some potential pathologies, in this case, looking at lung nodules, measuring these lung nodules, making the workflow easier for the radiologist. Or, for that matter, also looking at when it comes to reporting, helping the radiologist instead. So what a radiologist normally does is that they dictate the reports. So instead of having to manually dictate something that the AI has detected, okay, we can start pre-populating these reports, making the process more efficient for the radiologist. So, coming back to what I wanted to talk about in terms of what is it that we're trying to do. I'm going to start off with a bit of a cliche. I'm going to try to make it more concrete and more tangible as we go along. But what we really, within the group that I'm working on, what we focus on is trying to create a bridge. Creating a bridge between all of the AI vendors that are out there. So if you look at, for instance, your European market, we have 200 plus AI applications that are approved for medical use. So creating a bridge, a connection between all of those vendors, the applications that they are representing, and the hospitals trying to find, okay, what applications are actually available? What are the applications that can support me within the needs that we have? But also creating a connection, creating a bridge between the applications themselves and the users, so the clinical users, the radiologists or the pathologists that are looking to use these applications. And this boils down to two things for us. One is to provide AI as a service, And again, I will try to explain a little bit more. Why is this relevant? Why is this something that can be helpful for healthcare? But also making sure that these tools are seamlessly integrated into the workspace where these clinical or clinicians are already working. And again, I'm going to try to explain why is this important and what the situation looks like for many of these clinicians today. Why are we doing this? Well, usually when I talk about AI within healthcare, I use this analogy of that at the moment we are at this construction site. As I said before, AI is under a lot of pressure. They are looking for solutions. There are a lot of vendors out there that have applications that have the regulatory approval to be used. So we can see that there is a lot of things happening. We can see that something is being built, something is being formed, but we don't really know what it will look like in the end. We are at the place where we're kind of laying out foundation in terms of how can we use AI, how can AI be something that will make a difference for them. But again, we don't really know what it will look like in the end. This, together with some other aspects, creates a lot of uncertainty for healthcare. For instance, there is still a lot of questions in terms of, are these AI applications actually making a difference to us? So if I'm going to purchase something, I want to make sure that it's actually making a difference, that it's paying off. A lot of times that they don't really know that. And as I said before, there are so many applications and vendors out there, it's difficult for them to navigate this space. As I said, we are in quite an early phase. And this is where healthcare often, they want to find someone that they can partner with. I know that I need to start using AI because otherwise we're not going to survive. We're not going to make it. We're not going to be able to provide healthcare in the same way that people are used and that people are expecting. We need to do something differently. We need someone that we can work with so that we can grow this, so that we can scale our AI usage. And also because a lot of them, when they have kind of tried to start using AI in clinical practice, they have realized that, hey, there are so many challenges that we are facing in terms of getting these new applications to play nicely with the other systems that we're already having, setting up contracting with a lot of different vendors, and as I said, making sure that these applications are actually creating a bang for the buck, that they are getting something in return. So this is where we come in, and this is where we have created something that we call amplifier services, and where the perspective is to help healthcare, help our customers that are already using our systems to help them find what are the applications that are going to support the clinical needs that they have, that can help them with the clinical problems that they are facing, and that they can access these applications through a single point of contact. So instead, as a hospital, instead of saying that, okay, I want to use these 5 or 10 different applications that are coming from 5 or 10 different vendors. So instead of me having to have an individual contract with each vendor, I can, through a single point of contact, through a single contract, I can get access to all of these applications. And there is only one phone number that I will call when there is a problem. I don't have 5 different phone numbers to call. I don't have 5 numbers or 5 vendors that are all pointing at each other, blaming each other, but I have one number to call, and I have a single throat to choke if there is a problem. Something, again, that will allow someone to grow their usage. Not only do something that, just by the kind of sheer enthusiasm that we're having, we managed to pull this first product off, but putting in a foundation so that you can build upon that. You can add your second application, you can add your third application, and so forth. So as I said, an important part of this is looking at how these AI applications or the results from them can be integrated into the workspace where the clinicians are already working. To kind of trying to highlight the importance of this, I usually, sometimes I take the analogy of using Word or any other word processor. So typically you have some support in those for grammar and spelling checks. Now imagine that you had your text editor and you wanted to perform a grammar and spell check. What you needed to do was to basically get that content over to another workstation that you might have in another room, and you need to log on to that workstation. You would somehow get the text in there. You would run something. After 10 minutes, you would get a response saying that, yeah, you have 5 typos, the grammar is a bit off here, you need to change the tense on this verb or something like that. Then you need to go back to the workstation where you were working with your original document, and then you need to make those updates. This is how healthcare sometimes work. This is how IT within healthcare sometimes work. And if you would have a grammar checker or a spell checker that worked like that, you wouldn't be using it. You want something that sits nicely within the workspace that you're normally working with. And that's what we're trying to help our customers with. How can we get those AI results that are being generated and put them in a place where you can access them easily? It fits into your workflow. Another aspect, as mentioned, trying to provide this as a service, making it as accessible as possible. Again, the situation that we're used to on our phones, downloading an app, starting to use that app, we don't ever worry about who is actually the vendor behind this app or how am I going to get this app down on my phone. That's a big, big headache for IT at a hospital. So typically they will have some clinicians that are coming into, oh, I've seen this amazing app, you just need to make this work within our IT environment. That's what we're trying to get rid of. Getting rid of that headache and that work that normally lands on the IT department to make that as seamless as possible. We're not there yet in the sense that they will have this kind of app store experience, but we are getting closer to that, making it as accessible as possible. And another thing that is very important, I mentioned this before, that for these hospitals, looking to do evidence-based healthcare, having a limited amount of resources, it's very crucial for them to also get the support in terms of doing the follow-up, doing the monitoring to see how are these applications behaving on our patient population. These applications might have a sensitivity, specificity as claimed by the vendors, but how is it actually performing on our data? So monitoring that performance, but also trying to help the customers to see, is this application making a difference in your workflow? Are your clinicians, are your radiologists, are your pathologists, are they quicker to read? Can you provide a better level of care to the patients? Can you detect more lung nodules? Can you skip some work that would have been performed by, that can be performed by an AI instead? So, to summarize what we're trying to do within the amplifier services that I represent is to provide AI service to make it as accessible as possible to the hospitals. And in the same way, trying to focus on how can we make the AI results themselves available to the end users in a way that they can easily access them and make use of that. And by that, we think that we can help healthcare to provide faster and better workflows that can help them maintain the level of care that they are providing today or even make it better. With that, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Daniel. Do we have any questions for Daniel?
Otherwise, I'll be around as well.
Yes. Then we welcome the Suk, Sajid, and Anita. Take the minute to stand up if you need to, or do, so that you get some air into your lungs. And then we'll hook up the next presentation.
You can. Are you speaking again? Or?
No.
Okay. Perhaps maybe you'd like to use this one. Yeah.
Hello. Hello. It's good. How to switch off? How to switch off? Ah, okay.
We'll continue with the Suk, and you will notice that we have three very different companies. So this is our third and final company. And Sayed will start, and then Anita will start.
Thank you so much, Annette. Hello, everyone. So my name is Sajid, and I'm from company called Dazook AB, which is a startup, which is currently present in a business incubator in Linköping Science Park. So I have my colleague also with me here, Anita. She will just later talk. She's mainly dealing with the daily machine learning and AI related work. So maybe she can also pitch in during the presentation. So let me start about Dazook. So we are a company, we are a software company which tries to optimize electricity bills or energy usage in industries. So who are our customers? So our customers are big manufacturing companies who have millions in terms of their electricity bill at the end of their month, for example. So how do we serve them? So going into first why we are relevant, or first, like, we are just 3 years old as a company, and we started out as a project in 2019. And way back in 2019, while I was doing masters in Linköping University, why we started out was we were trying to address the problem, like, are huge energy cost savings being missed by manufacturing industries? And as we know, like, these are companies having like gigawatt hours of electricity usage per month, for example. So the main issue was like 60 to 75% of manufacturing industries are unsuccessful with energy management, or like they can't quite get hold of where the energy is getting used. Is there a potential to save those electricity usage? Can there be more control on machines, which is the main thieves sucking out the energy? So these were few questions, and like this research figure which says 60 to 75% are unsuccessful means there is something to be done. And along with this, another big set of research says that there is actually a possibility or a proven potential to save 25% of this electricity usage, which basically means like, okay, why this is happening? If 60 to 75%, like, why 60 to 75% are unsuccessful if they have a potential to save 25% of their electricity bill? And 25% is huge number for these industries, mainly because they are very big consumers of electricity, which in turn contributes to their carbon footprint, for example. So we dived deep into it to find out what is the reason, and can there be any other solutions to this. For example, there are already many energy management softwares in the market, like you might have heard of Siemens, Schneider Electric, all these big giants who already have such solutions or similar solutions. But the big problem with the existing solution was that it was not suitable for medium-sized industries. Okay, Schneider Electric, Siemens, those solutions are very much suitable maybe for very big industries. But for smaller industries who can't probably hire a full-time energy manager position, there was a big challenge here, because there's other solutions in the market requires, like, they first need to spend a hell lot of money on buying those solutions. So other reasons was like high initial cost, like I said, and also there are no easy tools. As you can, maybe some of you already have some industrial experience, most of the industrial softwares are like their UI UX design, for example, are really crappy. And like it was like anybody who doesn't have expertise in energy management, if they try to take a look into any of the systems installed, they will not understand a thing, for example. So we wanted to bring a change into all of these. And also knowledge gap. I talked about few numbers earlier. Like, it's very rare that the industrial managers themselves knew that there is such a big money to be saved in these industries. So what did we do different from others? We build a solution which can, in a scalable fashion, solve the barriers to energy efficiency, which I talked about earlier. So how could we do it? And that's where machine learning and AI comes into the play. So, but I can take it a little bit back into the history. Like, we couldn't directly start up with the latest AI machine learning technologies or anything related to that, because our customer segment was not ready for that. Even though the technology would have suited, like our customer segment, which is industries, they many a times didn't have the basic visualization of machine energy use. So we had to first start there. Like, even if we give very advanced AI or machine learning features, first the user should be ready enough, both technologically, like, so that they can actually get the benefit of the solution. So that's exactly where we started out. So we started out providing them basic visualization, which we have already achieved in our solution as of today. And now, like the past 1 year, we have been working with AI and machine learning, mostly to build on that data we already have. So as of date, we have around 40 big or like medium-sized industries as our customers, and we collect around 300,000 data points, energy data points on a daily basis from these customers. So this data is like we have around 5 to 10 machine learning AI-based features in our product roadmap for 1 to 2 years, next 1 to 2 years. So this data we gained from the customer is used to train our machine learning algorithms, which is in the plan, which will be achieved within 1 to 2 years, for example. So how does it happen actually? For example, like as you can guess, in industries, there are furnaces, ovens, which work at 1400 degrees Celsius and very high temperatures and uses hell lot of energy, for example. And we can, just like in Instagram or Facebook, as our machine learning models are trained, we can just give them notifications like, hey, look at your furnace. From our data analysis patterns, we have found out that you can save this much euros or whatever if you do this, if you shift this load to another point. So we basically combine technology, machine learning with energy knowledge, which is also one of Dazook's main strength. And also we combine other sort of data. For example, some of you might be aware that most of the Europe is covered under node pool electricity data, Timpris or hourly pricing. So we can combine, for example, energy data with hourly pricing data and get even more analytics delivered into them. Okay, then how is this relevant? So this becomes relevant in the sense that if we use machine learning or AI, we can provide all these insights at a very lowered price for our customers. So like I talked about earlier, barriers to energy efficiency, one of the main barrier is the cost by which our customer segment was not able to adopt the solution. So we lower the threshold of entry, or we lower it by like maybe 5 to 10 times at least compared with the established players in the market, for example, so that finally at least this is an affordable solution for our customer segment. And finally, this can be adopted by our customers, and they can save up to 20% of their energy use as a result. So this is at a very high level. How does our solution look like? For example, we have something called current transformers or plug and play energy sensors. So we pre-configure the energy sensors which has to be installed on the electricity cables of the machines in the industry. So basically, we pre-configure it from our warehouse. We send it by post to the customers. They can self-install these sensors because it is just like this cable. I can just clip it around any cable, and as soon as those CTs are clipped on, or these sensors are clipped on, we start receiving data at our cloud end, which we have completely hosted on Amazon Web Services as of today. So the sensors are clipped on the electrical cables of the machines. As soon as that is done, we start getting data in our AWS, and from there, the basic visualization and other analytics takes charge, and we can deliver the analytics at the managerial level through a web application, which can be just accessed through anything like Google Chrome or Safari or anything of that sort. And also, we have something called operator view. So we have in market this managerial view for which we have customers as of today. And we are developing this operator view, which is again a combination not only of energy data and machine learning, but we have another component here, which is cognitive science or behavioral science. And this is aimed at, like, for example, after all, okay, we have many insights in front of us. Finally, the shop floor machine operators in the industries, we try to nudge them for better energy use, so that in specific, like, we give them a little bit of positive push so that they try to lower the energy use of the machines on the shop floor with respect to their machine energy use, for example. And going ahead, to summarize, we are an all-in-one solution for energy management for manufacturing industries, which solves the barriers to energy efficiency with least capital-intensive method. So the last part, least capital-intensive method, how can we actually achieve it in market is only because AI and machine learning is there. Otherwise, we are just another type of energy consultants, which, like, for example, have to spend many hours and which will definitely affect the scalability of the solution. For example, when we scale to international markets, for example. So we basically have three parts to the solution, like I mentioned earlier. One is the self-installable plug-and-play sensors, which I talked about earlier. Second is the proprietary software we have, which, for example, like I said, can give alerts to customers based on their energy usage patterns, can predict based on seasonal trends and some other trends, which Anita might later little bit dive into, and give them very useful analytics tailor-made for their industry. So we have our own specific classification based on type of machines, which is actually research based, so that we can finally deliver the customer with a very custom based energy advice. Yeah. So we also have an energy advisory service, which is sort of a hand holding service for our customers who require a little bit of more guidance from us. And why now? Many of you might be aware, either even from your home electricity bills, that Europe is now sitting on a decade high of electricity cost. And the sustainability drive, that's also really in the news and in practice among industries. Grid capacity challenges. All the electricity grids we see now has a very limited capacity. Probably it requires lot of more infrastructure investments from governments to even like invest more. So we can limit the need of new investment requirements if we optimize the existing energy use, for example. Also regulatory compliances. For example, next year, mostly in Europe, like there is another regulation which is gonna come up, like all products needs to sort of label, or industries need to label how much there is energy use per product produced, for example. So we are in a great position to deliver, as we have electricity data every 30 seconds up to based on their energy use. So now I'll pass it on to my colleague, Anita. Maybe you can use the other mic. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And AI. AI is, they have written it in a 2-word. It is not a 2-word. It's a very big umbrella. And now, where Dazook is in under AI? So AI, so everyone know these divisions. What is AI? So I'll get back it from the deep. So deep learning. What is deep learning? Deep learning, it's just a neural network. It has a deep of number of layers. So with these layers, it's structured with the brain. So with a different type of layers, it has been built, and with that, the machine is learning, and it's trained, and it predicts accurately. And next, the machine learning. Here, the machine learning uses some part of the deep learning, and in the machine learning, we uses the statistical method to train and test the data. And what is artificial intelligence? Other than this, we have a motion sensor, and all other things comes under the artificial intelligence. So integration of all this is the AI. So very big umbrella, and now we are using the machine learning in Dazook. So what we are doing with machine learning? So actually, Sajid told about every day we are taking 300,000 data every day. So from that data, how we can give a productive results to the industries. So for example, if we take a machine, how much productive is that machine? So from that, we are extracting all the data, and we are trying to learn what state the machine is. The machine is off, on, or standby. And here, the production hour, only part of the on machine. When the machine is on, that tells about the production hour. And next thing is anomaly detection. If we are finding any, there is a certain pattern, the machines will fall. So once the machine is on, it goes on until from morning 8 o'clock until 5. If there is an anomaly, if there is a downtime or something happen anywhere, we can do with anomaly detection. And trends and seasonality, by this we can see when there is a huge pricing or it's deeping down. So we are trying to find by using the trend and the seasonality. So one of the examples, what we are doing it here. So first thing is identify the goal, how the machine learning goes on until the results. First thing, define the goal, then collect the data. We are collecting the data from AWS, and this data is different data, that is time series data. Now we are working on the past data. If it is the real-time data, we'll jump on to the big data analysis. And next, clean the data. If any data is missing or something, we have to clean it. Then choose the model, which model you want, whether if there is labels or the data is named, we'll go with the classification, or else we'll go with the clustering. And then train the data, and then go with the testing model. So this is one of our analysis. So this is on one machine, starts at 5 o'clock and works until 11 o'clock. So once we give it to the algorithm, it predicts the machine is off, it is displayed in blue, and when the machine is on standby, it's in yellow color, and the machine is working hour. So with these hours, we can measure the machine is productive. So this is our one of the analysis. Thank you.
Sajid or Anita.
You mentioned you had a few AI things in the pipeline coming up. Could you give us a taste?
Yeah, so this could, for example, look like we have around 10 algorithms in plan. Some of them definitely I can give a taste of. For example, compressor is a very common machine in almost all our customers, because there are robots working on pneumatic and there are compressor lines throughout the industries, for example. We know from our experience that a particular pattern in the compressors indicate a leakage in the compressor machine, for example. So that is some knowledge we already have. So we try to train on that and try to automatically detect the customer compressor line leakages. So once the pattern matches a specific pattern, for example, we will automatically, just like I was talking about in Instagram or Facebook, give them a red indication or notification which comes up, and they can be even given, SMS, for example. Some people prefer that, especially industrial managers who might not be on screen always, for example. So we can clearly say that we have detected something wrong with your compressor, please attend, or some messages like that. So that could be one example. Another example, for example, if I talk about pricing, we know that, like, for example, today 2:15 afternoon, Nord Pool publishes the electricity data for tomorrow. So the price is fixed today afternoon. We can give them predictions, customers' predictions, based on their existing energy usage patterns, and even calculate how much crowns or euros they can save next day if they try to follow the pattern our model predicts, for example. that might not be always possible because there are other production constraints and production line constraints, but it's a mix of everything. So these could be 2 examples, for example.
Do you share your data with the customers when you, or do you keep the data that you collect also as proprietary? And regardless of your answer, why is that, and do the customers ask for it a lot?
Access to their data, you mean? Yeah, we are always giving the data to the customer. For the analysis purpose, we always maintain anonymity so that we are in compliance of GDPR and other sort of regulations. So that also, of course, is there in the customer contracts and things like that. So we just try to use the data for the better world in that sense. Yeah. Did I answer your question or?
Any more questions?
No questions from Netherlands also?
Then I say thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that was actually, yeah, yes.
I feel like your framework is obviously, it should be as like a scalable framework, very obviously generalized and very scalable. Do you think your business model could also translate, say, for example, to universities that try to optimize the energy usage in terms of when they supply how much energy to buildings, how to construct opening times? Have you already thought about possibly expanding into different sectors, or are you focusing just on industry for now?
Yeah. So we have thought about other possibilities. For example, real estate, buildings, universities, all those things also. And it's the algorithms and the logics are pretty much similar actually. So that's definitely a possibility. Only that we have chosen industries because they are the biggest electricity usage or like consumers first of all, and also as a startup we need to start somewhere and start very, very focused. So that's the only reason we have chosen an industrial segment. But the same thing is scalable towards across different sectors also. Of course, the profitability and business model and everything related will differ, obviously, but that's the gist of it.
Okay, thank you. This was actually our last presentation, but just to circle back to what the Science Park and AI Sweden is all about, is making connections and getting AI to accelerate in Sweden. All of the companies that you've heard today, they're very different, but we could see connections between them. What if iMatrics worked with Sectra on annotations, for example? Or what if the SUK worked with Sectra on security around machinery? You see, you could make connections between different companies. And also, what if all of you were interested in working at any of these companies? What could the Science Park help you with to connect? Around master's theses or coming to work or to understand the companies that we have here in the park. And these were actually just 3 examples. We have a lot of different types of companies here. And so if you're interested in any of the companies, don't hesitate to actually connect to the Science Park to see what types of companies that we have. Okay. That was everything. Take the opportunity now to talk to the people, the presenters, and to mingle. We do have some time left, and I think there's still some coffee left. But I'll let the audience online go. Thank you very much for participating. And then we'll mingle. Thank you.